Hello, all of you weird, beautiful number people who've decided to listen in. Reminder, if everyone here contributes $1, I can treat my girlfriend to a second night in a row of Taco Bell. So please consider doing that. All you beautiful number people, I have come to an epiphany. Yes, big word. It's a $100 word. Jeopardy it. Someone get Alex Trebek. He might have passed away, so that's insensitive. But I came to an epiphany sometime today while I was sitting on the couch playing 2K on the Switch that I bought for $5 because I'm cheap. I came to an epiphany about talent in the NFL, and I started thinking about this draft and previous drafts, especially with the most popular position of quarterback. And I crunched some numbers. Super quick number crunch. Even if you're not a math genius like yours truly, you could do it super simple, super quickly. I looked at the 2018, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, and 12, the past 7 years, a pretty sizable sample size. Scientists would consider 7 to be a good amount of data to extrapolate a conclusion. And so I looked at the past 7 years of NFL drafts, just the quarterbacks, because no one's interested in an edge rusher or an outside linebacker. No one cares. Okay, no one cares about a middle linebacker. Well, I do, but most people do not. And I looked at the past 7 drafts of quarterbacks, excluding the 2019, 2020, 2021, because we don't know anything about those drafts yet. And with those 7 years, I looked at first rounders and or multiple standouts, depending on how many standouts there were in later drafts. So, for example, 2014 draft, awful draft, except it gave us Derek Carr and Jimmy Garoppolo in the non-first round. In the first round, it gave us Blake Bortles, Johnny Manziel, and Teddy Bridgewater. Yikes. That was rough. That was brutal. But looking at other drafts, you'll see, for example, 2017, we got Patrick Mahomes, Deshaun Watson, and the standout was like Nathan Peterman, who I think was drafted in like the 3rd round. Point is, I looked at all these drafts. 2018 draft, you have Baker Mayfield, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, great players. And then you have Sam Darnold, Josh Rosen, not so great players. And then a standout, Mason Rudolph at 76th overall, who's neither good nor bad. He's just like an okay backup quarterback. And what I took from all of this was that in the 7 years of the 21 first-round quarterbacks, 21 total, only 7 of them I would consider successful. And that's even including someone like Andrew Luck, who retired early. And I guess you could maybe consider it 8 if you consider Robert Griffin III, RG3, as successful, even though injuries really plagued his career. But regardless, in 7 years, there have been, to my approximate knowledge, 7 successful first-round quarterbacks. I say that to say, and also, of course, there were 7 successful non-first round picks. I consider Jacoby Brissett, Dak Prescott, Derek Carr, Jimmy Garoppolo, Russell Wilson, Nick Foles, and Kirk Cousins as the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 successful non-first round picks at quarterback. And I say that to say this because I've noticed a lot of people going around in sports media talking about the 5 first-round selections of this year: Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, Trey Lance, Justin Fields, Mac Jones, the first 15 picks, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 11th, and 15th, respectively. And here's the thing. Statistically, one of them is going to be good. It's a little mind-blowing. And we've had precedents like this with the 2018 draft, where there were also 5 first-rounders. And in that case, 3 of them were successful, and 2 of them were not. Sam Darnold, Josh Rosen, obviously that's subject to change. Should one of them suffer a career-ending injury, or should Sam Darnold be really good in Carolina? Hey, maybe it's 8 successful first-round quarterbacks instead of 7, or 9 instead of 8. Again, if you consider RG3 to be successful, I guess you could. But personally, I think that given that he was drafted in 2012 and currently it's 2021, I don't think he's really been impactful since 2017. So I don't really consider him to be a successful first-round quarterback, given that in 5 years he was basically out of the league. But looking at this year's draft, 5 quarterbacks selected in the first round, 5 within the first 15 picks, and everyone I'm hearing about is telling me Kellen Mond at the 66th overall pick, the 2nd overall pick in the 3rd round, going to Minnesota, is the outlier. He's the standout. He's the Jacoby Brissett, the Dak Prescott of this year's draft. There's only one, statistically, there's only going to be one other successful quarterback. Statistically, I mean, in the past 7 years, there have been 7 successful first-round picks. In 2016, there were none. There were 3 first-rounders: Jared Goff, Carson Wentz, Paxton Lynch. I could argue all three of them have been busts. Carson Wentz was great. He's never really looked the same. Jared Goff was great, and he's never really looked the same. And Paxton Lynch, um, well, to be frank, if he wasn't 6'7", he probably would be working at a Jewel Osco right about now. In 2015, 2 first-round picks, none, no standout. There were the 7 total QBs taken in the 2015 draft. That was the Jameis Winston, Marcus Mariota draft. Both of them, I would argue, have been huge busts, and there have been no standout quarterbacks in that draft. 0 for 7 in that draft. And I got to say, in this latest draft, I'm very optimistic about a lot of them. But, I mean, the numbers are just so far against them that when I look at people come on TV and say that all 5 of them are going to be successful, it's impossible. And I think the point I'm trying to make is, who's it going to be? Who's going to be the one quarterback, Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, Trey Lance, Justin Fields, Mac Jones, who's going to actually be the successful one out of the 5? I think we can all agree Trevor Lawrence, a generational talent, is going to be successful in this league. But everyone was talking about Zach Wilson or Mac Jones or Trey Lance or even Justin Fields, although I feel like Justin Fields slipped a lot in the draft. I have no idea why. He was probably the second best prospect in the entire draft. But those 4 can't all be good, especially not, I think, Zach Wilson going to the New York Jets, especially not, I don't think Trey Lance, who didn't play at all last year because of COVID and missed an entire year of college football. You look at it and honestly, only maybe 2, maybe 3 of them are going to be good. And I think Trevor Lawrence is the one, like, guarantee. So of those 4, Zach Wilson, Trey Lance, Justin Fields, Mac Jones, only 1 or 2 of them is going to be good. And so that leads me to a draft evaluation. I feel like enough time has passed. I feel like we're ready for this as a community, as fellow number lovers. I don't know who's going to be good. The draft is a crapshoot. It's really 50-50 the entire way through. And to be completely honest, once you hit the 15th pick, name recognition goes down the toilet. You're really going to have to rely on people whose job it is to look at this kind of stuff. And it's not my job. I'm employed to not look at football. Quite the opposite, actually. I'm punished if I do look at football, which makes sense. But going through the first 15 picks, obviously, I think the Jags get an A, easy, generational quarterback. I'm not even going to spend any time on it. But if you look at a team like the Jets, why didn't they trade the 2nd overall pick? It's not like Zach Wilson is this generational talent. He was good in BYU, but I feel like they had a surefire thing in Sam Darnold, and they screwed it up so horribly. And now they're like, no. He's not the guy. Forget that. This guy is. This guy is the guy. We were wrong before. We were way off. Like, we could not have been more fucking wrong. But now we're spot on. Don't worry. This guy is the guy. Not that guy. Not that guy we drafted 3rd overall. This guy we drafted 2nd overall. No, he's going to be bad. I give him a B. Oh, and also I don't believe in this stupid, I believe in a traditional bell curve, okay? Like a C is average. I don't understand the American public education system in which a C is bad. Like a B is average, but then why even make it go down to an F? No, I believe that a C is average, B is good, D is bad, A is great, F is bad or really bad. I believe in an actual bell curve. So the Jets get a B because I think they got a good quarterback. But I also think they got a good quarterback back in 2018, and they're still drafting 2nd overall. I would have just traded the 2nd overall pick. They have a good coach now. They had a good quarterback with the 3rd overall pick back in 2018 with Sam Darnold. But then they decided ultimately, like, no. That guy, he's not the guy. Sure, we drafted him 3rd overall, but trust us, we never liked him. I hate my headphones. They just disconnected and reconnected to my phone. San Francisco, 3rd overall. I just give them a C. They're average. I have no clue. This is getting ridiculous. It keeps disconnecting from my phone. But San Francisco gets a C. They're average. I have no idea how good this guy's going to be. I don't even know if he's ever going to play. Be 1st-round picks for a guy who's never going to play for them, honestly. Like, he was, what did he come at? North Dakota State year. And then all of a sudden he comes in, and now Jimmy Garoppolo, the guy they gave a huge extension to, despite him only playing like 11 games, they're like, forget him. We got this new young guy who's great. I don't buy it. I think, again, there are five guys statistically, two, maybe three of them are going to be good. And I think if we all agree that Trevor Lawrence is going to be great, there's one or two guys of the remaining four that's going to be good. They have a 25% chance or a 50% chance of drafting an actual good quarterback, not even a great quarterback. Okay, quarterbacks last a long time in this league. Drew Brees just retired. Tom Brady is still going. Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers are old. They're still going. The odds of you drafting a generational quarterback, I'm going back to 2012. 2012, like no one, you got Mahomes, done. Mayfield, Allen, Jackson. I need to see more from Allen and Jackson. Mayfield, I think, is perpetually underrated, but still, he's not a generational quarterback. 2013, dear God, they all suck. That's what I wrote down. 2014, none. 2015, none. 16, none. 17, Mahomes. 18, need to see more. 2012, Andrew Luck, generational talent. He's retired early. The odds of drafting a generational talent at quarterback are so rare. The odds of drafting a generational talent at quarterback and then in that same draft, another starting caliber quarterback, very, very low. And I think the San Francisco 49ers may have made a little bit of a big fucky wucky there, okay? Because I think we all agree Trevor Lawrence is going to be great. What are the odds that Trey Lance is also going to be great? Maybe they know something I don't, because obviously it's their job to know football. It's not my job. That's why they get paid millions and millions of dollars. And that's why I get a third of my paycheck taken out despite only making $20 an hour and don't have health care. Thanks again, American government. But the odds are so stacked against it. I give it a C because I have no idea. I'm just going to move on. It's a C. I don't know. I hope they're right. I like San Francisco's roster. George Kittle is a little too excited about meeting Trump back when he was in office. I don't know how I feel about that. But regardless, moving on. Atlanta, they get an A. Duh. Kyle Pitts is going to be a generational tight end talent. Just, yeah, he just is going to be. Maybe they should have looked at a quarterback, but I think Matt Ryan still has a lot of time left. Obviously, he's not a great quarterback, but I think he's a really good quarterback. I think he's top 12. He's right there with a guy like Baker Mayfield, maybe Derek Carr. Definitely can win anything with him, but it just depends on the right roster around him. Maybe they should have prioritized defense and traded down. I don't know. This isn't a very deep defensive draft. Once you get past Pat Surtain and Micah Parsons, the next best is probably who's that one guy? Maybe Kwity Paye. Kwity Paye out of Michigan, or there's one guy out of, was it USC? I can't remember his name. I'll get to him eventually, but I give it an A. Although maybe they should have gone defense. 5, Bengals drafting Jamar Chase. I give it a D. That was just he's going to be great. Jamar Chase is going to be a great wide receiver in this league, but with Penei Sewell on the board, I'm beating a dead horse to death here. Like, I'm beating it to death. I'm resurrecting the horse and I'm beating the shit out of it all over again. Everyone knows they should have drafted Sewell, even though Jamar Chase is going to be great. I don't even have to say anything else. It's kind of obvious at this point. Like, everyone said that. Everyone knows it. Miami, I give them a B. Maybe they should have gone with Penei Sewell, but they definitely needed more offensive talent, especially on the outside, more speed. I feel like Jalen Waddle he could maybe end up being the best wide receiver in this draft, but I really think, I go back and forth between drafting Jalen Waddle and Penei Sewell, but if you really want to determine if Tua Tagovailoa is the guy, is he the quarterback of the future for the Miami Dolphins, you really need to give him the weapons just to see if he is. Not even so he can succeed, just so if he can succeed. 7, Penei Sewell to the Lions. Yeah, it's an A. That's a duh. Come on. I'm surprised he was even at 7. Panthers drafting J.C. Horn, number 8 overall. I would have gone Patrick Surtain. I feel like J.C. Horn is probably the second best cornerback in this draft. I gave him a C. It doesn't, it's like the Panthers. I personally, I'll give him I might go down 1 for the Panthers. I might give him a D. I would have traded down personally. I feel like the Panthers need a lot of good, not one great. And I feel like with this 8th pick, they got a good. They really could have they need a lot of young talent, and instead they got one young talent. And Panthers are not going to be good anytime soon. They just got a quarterback. and Sam Darnold from the Jets. They didn't have to give up a whole lot to get him, but still, you would think you want to surround him with young talent instead of just one guy on the defensive end. Maybe they should have gone Devontae Smith, or honestly, if they were going to go defense, I would have gone Micah Parsons. Although I guess they have absolutely no cornerbacks, really any quarterbacks at all on the roster for the Panthers. But still, I feel like they had a bunch of options to go towards, and they kind of picked a weird one, not a bad one, but just a weird one. So I guess I'll give him a D. I was contemplating a C, but I'm going to give him a D. Denver, D. Good player, but really needed a quarterback. They drafted Patrick Surtain, the second out of Alabama. He's going to be good. Like everyone knows he's going to. It reminds me a lot of like with like the Bengals pick. Like they drafted a good player, arguably the best on the board, but definitely not a good fit. I don't think the Broncos are always going to have a good defense. They really could have. I feel like they really should have gone with Mac Jones or Justin Fields. I personally believe Mac Jones would have been a better fit in Denver than Justin Fields. I'm saying that because I'm obviously biased and I really wanted Justin Fields to fall to Chicago, who eventually traded up with the Giants. But I still find it odd, very, very odd they didn't go with Mac Jones. I remember them being on the board, and I was like, yep, they are 110% taking Mac Jones. They got a really good player. Just, again, a weird pick. It's like this, the name of this draft are teams getting a good player, but not the player they really needed with the Bengals, the Panthers, and the Broncos. The Eagles, I was going to give the Eagles a D. They're getting an F. Horrible pick. Awful pick. Okay, first of all, with their first round pick last year, they drafted Jalen Reagor. So they already spent a first round pick on a wide receiver last year. This year, you trade up to get another wide receiver. This one, Devontae Smith could end up being the best wide receiver in this draft class. I don't think he will be. I think he'll probably be the third, maybe fourth, maybe even fifth best wide receiver, just because statistically speaking, I think, what's his name from the who did the Bengals? Jamar Chase. I think Jamar Chase is obviously going to be head and shoulders above everyone else. I think he's going to be an amazing wide receiver. And then I think a guy like Jalen Waddle is going to be a very, very good wide receiver. And then statistically speaking, there's going to be a wide receiver from the second or the third round, maybe even the fourth, that's going to be the third best wide receiver. It sounds cliche to say like, oh, statistically speaking, there's going to be a wide receiver from the second or third round that's going to be a really good wide receiver down the road. But I do think that Devontae Smith, best case scenario, will be like the third or fourth best wide receiver from this draft class. And I think the Eagles are kind of in the same boat as the Panthers. Why are you trading up to get one really good player instead of or one really great player potentially instead of a lot of good? This is a pick a team like the Packers should be making. This is a pick that a team like the Seattle Seahawks should be making for like a Micah Parsons. I don't know why they're trading up to get a position that they already addressed last year, and clearly it didn't work. So clearly they don't have an eye for talent at the wide receiver position, and yet here they are trading up in the first round to get a guy that they really want, despite the fact that there's so many more holes on this roster that they would be better served to trade back. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I was going to give it a D because I do think that Devontae Smith's going to be good, but I think I might give him an F just because I feel like in roster terms, in roster building, it's such an awful move to trade up to address a position that you already addressed when you're a rebuilding team. If you're a rebuilding team, unless you're like a top 5 pick, I think you should always trade back for a team like the Bears who want a position. And moving on to the next pick, the Chicago Bears drafted Justin Fields. This is an A. Throughout the entirety of the draft process, everyone was telling me Justin Fields is the second best draft prospect outside of Trevor Lawrence. All of a sudden, here comes this pasty ass motherfucker from BYU with the most stereotypical name ever, Zach Wilson. Never heard of this guy in my life, and everyone's telling me, oh my God, Zach Wilson, number 2, book it. They messed up with Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold was awful, but this guy's going to change the franchise. say hello to the next Russell. Everyone's the next Russell Wilson all of a sudden. He's not the next Russell Wilson. He might be good. I think Zach Wilson could be good. But I was told Justin Fields was the second best prospect. So I'm like, okay, he'll go third. And then all of a sudden I start hearing, hey, this guy Mac Jones. You see that guy Mac Jones that can bench 135 pounds 2 times? He's going to save that franchise. He's going to save the 49ers. He is the next great quarterback. He's the next Brady. You know, he's the next Favre. You know, I keep hearing, oh, you know who he reminds me of? Big Ben. Oh, he's got a lot of Big Ben in him. No, he doesn't. And then I keep hearing Trey Lance. Trey Lance has probably the most potential out of everyone on this draft class. I would argue even more potential than Trevor Lawrence. I think Trevor Lawrence has the highest floor of anyone, far and away. I think he's a floor of a Pro Bowl level quarterback. But I was told this entire time it's Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, and then the field, no pun intended. And yet here he is going 11th overall. Now, Chicago has a lot of holes on this roster. We have no idea what's going to happen with Allen Robinson. Our offensive line needs a drastic overhaul. Our defense is good, but we just released our best cornerback for some reason. Don't know why. But he doesn't have to start right away. I think Andy Dalton's going to start for like the first 4, 5, 6 games, and then eventually Justin Fields is going to outplay him. I hope. You know, if not, I think Andy Dalton's perfectly good enough to make us like second best in our division or our conference. I don't freaking know. Andy Dalton's okay. I have no idea how good he is, but I think eventually Justin Fields is going to overtake him. I give this a solid A. I always thought of him as the second best quarterback prospect throughout this entire process, and then all of a sudden, like 3 people just jump ahead of him in Mac Jones, Zach Wilson, Trey Lance, and I'm like, that does not happen unless something is really, really wrong with Justin Fields, but nothing ever came out of something negative about him. It just sort of happened, and I'm sitting here like I don't recall the last time this has happened where a player was like so. I mean, maybe like ironically, Mitchell Trubisky might be that kind of player, but there was never a time. I'm looking at like since 2012, all the quarterbacks taken. I'm looking for a time where someone was the consensus second or third best prospect, and they just fall to no fault of themselves. And the Bears got a steal. They traded up with the Giants, and they got an absolute steal. I give them an A. 12 Cowboys, they get an A. Micah Parsons, shocked he fell this far. I am shocked. I could have sworn that the Bengals were going to take Sewell, the Dolphins would take Chase, and then the Lions would take Jalen Waddle or Micah Parsons, and then the Panthers would just take whoever they didn't take. I thought the Panthers were going to go for a wide receiver, the best wide receiver available. If they couldn't get that, then they were just going to take Micah Parsons. So the fact that he fell 12 to the Cowboys, a team that really, really needed this position, huge. Cowboys got, maybe this might be my favorite pick of the first round, or at least of the first 15 picks, just because it's just such a good fit. Probably my next favorite first round selection is the very next pick, the Los Angeles Chargers, Rashawn Slater. He fell way under the radar because everyone's focusing on Penei Sewell. But this guy, Rashawn Slater out of Northwestern, I mean, personally, I thought Christian Darrisaw might have been the second best offensive tackle prospect, but the more I heard about Rashawn Slater, and I was kind of hoping that if the Bears didn't trade up, they would hopefully get a Rashawn Slater or a Christian Darrisaw, but the fact that the Chargers got him, I think is huge. They have really no holes on this roster for the Chargers outside of offensive line and just fire the entire special teams coach and infrastructure and just build that up from scratch. I think he's another potentially transcendent offensive tackle prospect, very much needed on this roster for a young quarterback who, admittedly, as good as he is, the offensive line was really the only thing that limited him, that and the lack of a fan base. But great pick. Probably my second favorite pick, right next to Micah Parsons to the Cowboys. 14, Elijah Vera Tucker went to the New York Jets. I like this pick. I do like this pick. I feel like the Jets kind of bungled it up with the second overall pick. I feel like they should have traded back, stuck with Sam Darnold, and sort of just with a new coach, just hoped for the best with him. But They did get a very good guard out of USC and Elijah Vera Tucker. Everything I've heard about him suggests that he's very, very good. He's very, it doesn't sound like he can move around the offensive line a whole lot. He's guard. He's going to play guard, but that's probably their biggest concern. I mean, I feel like the Jets have probably one of the worst offensive lines, probably the worst receiving core, and probably one of, if not the worst defense ever since trading Jamal Adams to the Seahawks. But I feel like if you're going to address one thing in this draft, you should protect Zach Wilson, because apparently he's significantly better than Sam Darnold, and he's going to be the next Tom Brady, Joe Montana, Russell Wilson, Big Ben, all rolled into one. He's the savior of New York. He's better than Jay-Z at rapping, I heard. He's the greatest thing since sliced bread. He's the greatest thing since modern day wheat cultivation. That's how good he is. He's better than sliced bread. He's better than how wheat is produced and collected. That's how good he is. So protect him at all costs. I did give him a C, but just because I thought of Darrisaw as a better prospect, but I might bump that up to a B, just because I don't know a whole lot about offensive line prospects. And from what I've heard about Elijah Vera Tucker, he's very, very good. I feel like USC always produces at least one good lineman every single year. Yeah, they traded up with the Minnesota Vikings to get him. I feel like they didn't have to give up too much. Great pick overall. New England Patriots, 15, selected Mac Jones. I give it a D just because I refuse to let this work. I don't see it with Mac Jones. I think he's going to be a huge bust. I think he's going to be Trubisky, a Paxton Lynch. Like, I don't think he's going to be any good. The Patriots roster is super flawed. I mean, I get why they took him, but everything about him just screams bust. You know, everything about him and Zach Wilson. Like, if I had to bet money on who's going to be successful in this draft, I'm going to go Trevor Lawrence. I think Justin Fields is going to be good. I think Trey Lance has the highest potential, and I feel like he went to a really good coaching staff, so I feel like he's going to be good. And then I feel like the one standout is going to be Kellen Mond in the third round, second overall pick, 66th overall pick, second pick in the third round. I don't think Mac Jones is going to be good. Patriots have no good wide receiver weapons. N'Keal Harry Alexander, I forget his name. I keep mixing him up with the Pelicans point guard, N'Keal Alexander Walker. They have like the same exact name, same exact like hyphenated thing going on. Very confusing. Two completely different sports, completely different cities, almost opposite sides of the country. But he asked for a trade. They drafted him over DK Metcalf. I don't think they're ever going to live that down. They have so many holes on this roster. I refuse to believe that a quarterback who was previously predicted to go in the third round until the smokescreen that occurred with the 49ers happened, and now all of a sudden he's a top 3 pick, and now all of a sudden everyone's like, oh my God, the Patriots got a steal at 15. It's like they could have gotten a steal at 15. It's entirely possible they got a steal at 15. Or they just got a Mike Glennon type. Who knows? Who knows? I don't know. I just refuse to let this work. He could be good. He could be a Kirk Cousins. I feel like he has a lot of Kirk Cousins in him. Maybe he's like a Nick Foles, where he's like a really good backup and like an okay starter, maybe like an average, below average starter. Will he ever be a top 15 guy? I doubt it. The quarterback is a very needed position, and a lot of teams have great quarterbacks. And if you asked me, will Mac Jones be a top 15 guy? I got to say no. If you ask me, will Trevor Lawrence? I'd say probably. If you ask me Trey Lance, I'd say it's possible. Justin Fields, it's possible. Zach Wilson, it's possible. Mac Jones, I'm not going to bet money, and I'm not going to lose any sleep on that bet. There's 2 quarterbacks per year on average, and statistically speaking, only so many can be good. And so many were drafted in 2019, so many were drafted in 2020, and now 5 more in 2021 just in the first round. And I'm sorry, but there's only so many good quarterbacks in this league. And I know that offenses now are catering towards play action passes, opening up the field, throwing outside the numbers, big yardage per play, just incredible accuracy. The wide receiver position's probably never been better than it is now. And everything's catering towards the quarterback. The penalties, the defensive penalties, the way you can tackle them, pass protections, how quickly they can get the ball off, the speed of receivers now. The fact that Like certain defenses just open up the entirety of the field so that if you can run as a quarterback, you get almost an immediate first down if they do not assume that you're running. And I get all that, and I understand now how it's like super easy for quarterbacks to thrive. But if you put a gun to my head and you said, Andrew, is Mac Jones going to be good? No, I don't think he will be. I don't think he's the next Brady. Too many people think of Zach Wilson and Mac Jones as the next Brady, as the next great quarterback. And I think there's only room for one great quarterback per draft, maybe. And I think it's Trevor Lawrence. And I think the odds of another one coming into the league is very, 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 very slim. Could I be proven wrong? No, I've actually never been wrong in my entire life. Not once. Ask anyone you know. Anyone who knows me, just ask them. Hey, has Andrew, aka Data Analytics and Sports, been wrong? They'll say no, not once, not ever. And you can take that to the bank. Thank you all so much, so very much for watching / listening. I don't have a camera, nor do I intend on investing on one anytime soon, unless, of course, like I said, you all donate me $1 to my Venmo / PayPal, and I can afford to take my girlfriend to Burger King, and she can watch me eat one Whopper. That'd be our dinner. She gets to watch me eat, and yeah. So that's mildly upsetting. I hope she enjoyed that joke. She's looking right at me. Yeah, she did. Okay. Thank you all so much for watching / listening.